wall. They had an usher about his size. Big, athletic. I just saw him not too long ago. I just saw the guy. But, and I looked back at that guy and I thought, oh, this bothers me. I don't think I can whip him. And I thought, I had a plan. My plan was that if this guy started coming down the row to cut me off, and I looked this way and another guy's coming down the row, I was going to grab whoever was standing in front of me, male, of course, spin him, pop him, and then in the confusion, I was going to be the only pew-jumping Catholic they ever saw. And I figured I'll just come back hours from now to get my truck, man. I'm just getting out of this place. Well, you know, it didn't take very long. I realized that wasn't what that was like. I had no suit. I had no tie. I had no dress shoes. I bought dress shoes, borrowed a suit, got a shirt, got a tie. Started sitting about third row, about where Andy is, right third row up, right over there. Really sinful area, the people that really need help, right where that was. And I started listening to these messages, and at that time I was going to college to become a computer programmer. I was a drunken body man at the time, but I was going to college to be a computer programmer, and I was preparing to graduate, and they were going to have a college party, and so it was maybe 30 miles away where they're going to have this, and so I wanted to go up there ahead of time, make sure I could find the place. No telling after the party if I was going to find my way out, but I wanted to see it several days before. And I had this Christian with me, and they're talking to me. And now look. You ever say this to somebody you know for a fact you're going to heaven, and they say, I don't think anybody can know they're going to heaven. The response to that is, you just say that because you don't know. That's what you need to tell them. So no, you just say that because you don't know. I know. When those Baptists at that church said they knew they were going to heaven, I believe they were. I believe they knew they were. I just didn't think I could. I just knew I was worse than all of them, and that there wasn't anything I could do, that I was damned. So I'm driving in this miserable, sorry Volkswagen that I had, and this Christian is telling me, you know what they're talking to me about? They're not talking to me about hell. Hell wouldn't have bothered me. You could have told me every horror story about hell. All you'd have done is confirmed what I already knew was my destination for eternity. Instead, they're telling me about the tribulation. They're telling me about water turning to blood, and the sun and the moon being darkened, and locusts coming out of the earth, with a face like my mother-in-law. I didn't even have a mother-in-law at that time. And people dying and having their heads cut off. And here's what it struck terror in my soul. I thought, man, I knew I was going to hell, but I thought at least I had this life before I had to get there. But I said, this was my exact thoughts. Now I hear that hell is coming to me. And while I was driving that Volkswagen, I went to prayer. It was a silent prayer. It was a secret prayer. And here's what I prayed. I said, God. Now this is where you do try to cash in on your points. Yeah, come on, you do. And I tried to cash in on my points. I said, God, I know that I deserve hell. I know that. I know I'm going to hell. And I said, I'm not good. But I said, you know that I've quit taking your name in vain. So I've been trying to straighten up a little bit. So I was trying to get my points in. And I said, I do believe this. I said, I know I'm not good. But I said, I think that if there was really a free way to heaven, I'm not saying you would save me, but I think you'd at least let me know about it so I could make the choice. And at that moment, something changed in my life permanently. It was as though God reached down from heaven and slapped me right across the face and called me by a pet name that he has used to address me for now 37 years. He reached down from heaven, slapped me in the face as I drove that Volkswagen, and said, hey, stupid. Now, let me just forewarn you. Whenever you're in prayer, if you should hear, hey, stupid, butt out. This is private communication. You can be dummy, you can be idiotic jerk face, you can be anything you want to be, okay? But I have been stupid, no amens, I have been stupid for the 37 years that's what, and I'm telling you, over the years, I have been in some real tight spots, and I've gone to prayer, and when God begins by, hey, stupid, I know we're online. And God said this, he said, hey, stupid, what do you think is sitting right beside you? And this Christian's still spouting all this. I mean, they're somewhere 8 chapters deep and 3.5 years in the tribulation. I'm about to take the mark, you know. And I looked over. I said, you know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing about a free way to heaven. I said, if there was a free way to heaven, you'd at least let me know about it. That's exactly what he was doing at that moment. At that moment, you know what I realized? I didn't get saved. At that moment, for the first time in my life, I realized I could be saved. I didn't think I could be saved. But I realized at that moment I could be. So, here's what I did. For the next week, this was Saturday or Sunday, might have been Monday. But for the next 7 days or 6 days, I called the youth director that had that class of 425 young people that I told you about. I called that guy every single day. He wasn't home. Guys, this was the days before cell phones. This was the day before voicemail. This is the day when if you wanted to hear real good, you pulled the string tight. And I called this guy every day. You know why I called him every day? I had to get a hold of him because here's what I thought. I got to quit drinking. I got to quit smoking, got to quit taking dope. There were a bunch of things in my life I thought, I'm going to get saved this coming Sunday, but I need to get these out of my life before I present myself to the Lord. I got it before I get saved. I got to get this out of my life. This guy is going to tell me how to do it. He wasn't home Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. He was away at youth camp, just like you guys are going. I was at church the next Sunday. The next Sunday was June 14th, 1970. I'd been in those services now pretty steady for 3 months. I had never in 3 months. I mean, listen, I was probably the only amening Catholic that they had. That guy would say something good, and I'd go, yeah, that's right, you know. I mean, I was in, you know. I was not saved, but I was kind of, you know, I was leaning in their direction. And, but I'll tell you what did not happen for those 3 months. Up until that morning, never once did I ever feel the convicting power of the Holy Spirit. Never. And this guy got up to preach. I can still remember he was a missionary to the Philippines. I remember that he said, we have with us our prayer cards. I had no idea what a prayer card was, but as he said that, he said, we have our prayer cards, and he went, Hail Marys. And everybody laughed. And everybody that knew I was a Catholic thought I would be mad. I didn't know what that was. I knew it was a joke on Catholics. I thought, I like a joke, guys. I laugh. The guy preached. He got done preaching. He gave the invitation. At the invitation, for the first time, I felt conviction. Here is how conviction felt to me. I felt like God had a thumb this wide, this long. He had it right on top of my head and was going to shove me right through the concrete floor of that room. Now, I have to admit that since I've been saved, I've come to realize that this is entirely too small. But God put that thumb down on top of my head, and he is going to drive me. Literally, he's going to push me right into the floor. And that was conviction. And I said this. I went to prayer again. And I said, God, you don't have to do this. Please understand, I have never resisted God. I wasn't running from him. I wasn't putting him off. I wasn't resisting him. I said, God, you don't have to do this. I said, you don't have to do this. I didn't use the word conviction. I didn't know what it was. I said, I'm going to get saved next Sunday. See, I thought I had to get this stuff out of my life. And I said, I am going to hunt this preacher down this week. I'm going to find him this week. And by next Sunday, I'm going to quit the drinking, drugs, all the other stuff. I'm going to quit it all. And next Sunday, I will get saved. That's what I thought I had to do. And guys, God let me know as I stood there. In his way, he let me know that I would not be there next Sunday to get saved. Now, I don't know that I would have been dead. It could have easily, there are 2 other options, real easy, hospital or jail. Whenever I left my home, my mother knew she was going to get a phone call from a hospital or a jail, either a car wreck or something. And so whatever it was, he just made it plain to me that I wasn't going to be there next Sunday to get saved. Now, that kind of ticked me. Here I am, I'm wanting to get saved, and he's not going to let me be here next Sunday. And I was a little bit miffed, and I made a statement to him, and I didn't even know that I was talking about a song. But I said this. I said, okay, then, if I'm not going to be here next Sunday and I can't quit all this stuff before I get saved, then I'm going to come just as I am. They ought to have a song with that kind of a name. I stepped out. I came down here. Listen, guys, I wasn't running from the hounds of hell. There were no tears